And you got the shortened intro. There you go. I'm 2 for 2. We had to do a take 2, and you got the shortened intro.
That was. But it's okay though, because it's what else needs to be said. Although there should be lyric in there, so people know what I'm singing about.
Correct. My bad.
So this is episode 22. This is the Chris and Mike show. He's Mike. I'm Chris. We're trying Riverside one more time to see if these fuckers actually work. If you've followed us, we've had some little chaos with it. But Mike's brother, the genius that he is, said, "Well, have Chris restart his computer." So I did that, and nothing else is open but this window on Riverside.
Yes. So this is our last ditch attempt.
That's it. That's the only thing that's open.
At frustration. So hopefully it works.
Right. Hopefully we're not frustrated anymore.
If it doesn't, we're going to try another option, and we'll go on from there. But yeah, agreed. No more frustration.
Right. No more frustration. So my thought today was talking about music. Just music in general with no real destination in mind. And the reason I say that, as I found on Netflix, I think, Creedence Clearwater Revival live at the Royal Albert Hall.
Great
when they
concert.
played there. Right. Because that's the cool thing about it. It's kind of a rockumentary. And the bands at that time that had played there before them was Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin. There was one other one. I can't remember it now. But I was like, wow, that's kind of like a who's who back in the 60s that played that space, and then they played it. So it's kind of a cool little rockumentary where we're talking to the band members and stuff, and then they'll play songs throughout it. And so then obviously because I did that, me, I go on once I watch something music related, even though we've talked about them forever. I went on to the iTunes store and downloaded their greatest hits and their chronicles. And like you talked about before, the motherfucker's a hit writing machine.
Oh, like incredible.
Every single song that's on their greatest hit, there's 20 greatest hits, and they're all hits.
Correct.
Like I don't think you could really find a band nowadays that can honestly have 20 songs that have all been charted, and that on the iTunes they're all like 5-starred out. Like they got the most pluses, like everything. It's kind of like who was that one band?
To go one step further than that, not only are they greatest hits, when you and I were buying the greatest hits album, like when my dad turned me on to them or whenever you found them, now they're classics. Because everybody still loves those songs. If you don't like CCR, man, we can't be friends, and I couldn't be any more serious. Because if that music doesn't move you, then you're dead inside.
Right. Yeah, and I've always liked them, but I when I catch documentaries and things like that, and I learn more about the artist, like I talked about that one chick, that's dominating the football world. Like I like whatever the fuck, but then when I watch that, it's like holy shit. This, for those you don't, it's the Taylor word. It's the bad word, Taylor Swift. But watch her story. If you watch her story, as you will have a newfound respect for who she is as an artist. I don't care if you like her, hate her, doesn't matter. I don't listen to her shit. I don't buy any of her stuff. I'm not going to her concerts, but watching the story behind who she is was just fucking amazing. Because
she's an amazing human being.
She did all that on her own. Right. And she did all of it on her own as far as climbing the rock, not the rock, but climbing the musical ladder. She did it by herself. And that affords her the ability to be the philanthropic person she is now today. But we're talking about Creedence Clearwater. So I've liked them, but I've never owned any of their music. So when I watched that, I went to the iTunes and I bought their two, the Chronicles and the Greatest Hits, and I listened to it today when I was tooling around, and like legit, there's nothing bad about their music, and it's catchy and it's upbeat. Even the stuff they wrote that was protesty, it still has a groove to it that you can't help but smile. and fucking just, you know, you automatically all of a sudden start singing with this shit. You don't realize it because it's just that catchy of a tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like the way that you were able to paint a picture with lyrics, he used to go to his uncle's farm or whatever in Louisiana, and he was so captivated by it as a child that as an adult, he just tried to paint that same picture, and he was so good at it that I firmly believed for the longest time that that's where he was from. I was like, you can't know that much and feel that much about that part of the country without being from there. And then come to find out he grew up in California. That's just how talented the guy is, you know? His imagination knew bound. It knew no bounds.
Yeah.
The story about him writing Willie and the Poor Boys from a Winnie and the Pooh cartoon in the Sunday paper. He just invented this band from looking at the Winnie and the Pooh cartoon. It's, you know, fascinating. That song's obviously on the greatest hits. Everybody knows every word to that song. If you're it's almost magic, you know.
I know. It's and you talked about before on here that something about the label wanted hits, and he's like, okay, you know, so he went and wrote hits, and it's just hit after hit after hit, gold record after gold record after gold record, when gold records were hard to come by.
Yeah, what did I say? He wrote 5 gold albums in 18 months.
Yeah.
It's still,
which is insane,
unbelievable.
Right now, staying on them as a topic, they obviously there's turmoil. Which watching the rockumentary that I watched, there was nothing about the turmoil. I have no idea why they went through that chaos and why it's now Creedence Clearwater Revisited and why he does his stuff as John Fogerty.
I believe it has something to do with his brother, and that goes all the way back to the beginning, either shortly after they got signed or right before they got signed.
Okay.
His brother was the leader of the band. He's older than John. John was the youngest by far in that band, not just like a couple years. He was like a whole school, you know, a whole high school behind. He was probably in 8th grade when his brother was graduating high school. So
gotcha.
He had to beg to join the band in the beginning. So he always felt like that. You know how the last guy in the band is? You're always the last guy in the band, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, you were not the last guy in the band, so you don't know that feeling. Yep. Rick does. You're gonna get hazed. So he went from being hazed to the label showing interest in them, but telling them as a group that John needs to be your singer. If you guys are going to be famous, this guy needs to be your singer. And John really wasn't a great singer.
Yeah.
And I think his brother was a halfway decent singer, like could carry the key, you know, keep time with the band, blah, blah, blah. It was John's attitude and his ability to capture an emotion. You know, as a singer, it's not enough to just hit the note. A lot of people can hit notes.
Right.
They sing in church and they'll bore you to death, you know? People go to rock and roll for attitude. You got to feel
it. The audience needs to feel what this. Yeah. Right, and you got to feel it. The audience has to feel what the singer's delivering, and that was one of the things why I never was really heavily into doing covers, unless I had some type of emotional attachment, or you know that was one of my rock and roll heroes type thing, which is why I loved singing the Doors, because I can do Morrison's voice, and I always felt I could do it really well, especially.
You did do it really well.
But, we did Zeppelin, I think. Yeah, I think we did Zeppelin cover. We did a Jane's Addiction cover. Those were cool songs to do, but it didn't resonate within my soul, because I'm never have been, nowhere will I ever be Robert Plant. My approach to covering somebody was, you have to do them just to the point that if they heard you singing their song, that they would be like, okay, respect. Like we did Bob O'Reilly in the council, and we tied it in with the song we had, Plastic Icon. Fucking loved singing that just because we rocked it up, and the keyboards was done with the guitar, that part. So every time that song comes on the radio now, I get energized by it, because it's, when the Who wrote that, the underlying beat and the music for that song is so uplifting and powerful that you can't just stand there and sing that song. Like, you have to. The music
man,
takes
Pete Townsend's
over.
a genius.
You gotta move. So that was kind of my thing. Fuck yeah, that dude. I mean, you would talk about writing hit after hit after hit for decades and decades, right? Just fucking unbelievable.
Okay, so if you want to go down that route,
I'm not a.
Do yourself.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do yourself a favor. I'll email you or text you a link to a good YouTube, or not YouTube, the Who documentary.
The Who,
not YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
You'll have a newfound appreciation for Pete Townsend. They said he used to lock himself away in the studio for like up to years when he was writing Tommy, the opera, musical that he wrote.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where people were worried about his, the rock opera, excuse me. To the point where people were worried about his sanity, whether he was going crazy in there or not.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, fascinating story. And then, of course, you got Keith Moon, who was just fucking nuts. If people think John Bonham was crazy, and the story of John Bonham and how he died, it was so famous because Led Zeppelin was that much more famous than the Who. But Keith Moon he made John Bonham look like a choir boy, man. He really was crazy. You couldn't tame it, and that's why he expired quickly. Yeah. But that story is fascinating.
How did Keith? Man. Yeah, was Keith? Was he an overdose?
I believe
or did
so.
He die of alcohol poisoning, like most of them in that time frame.
I'm guilty, just like everybody else,
and drowned in his own.
I don't know. We're gonna find out right now.
Yeah,
live with everybody else.
I mean, most of the people that died back. Yeah, most of the people that died back then, it was due to alcohol poisoning. The fall asleep, fucking beyond hammered, and drowning on vomit, like Bon Scott and Jimi Hendrix, and
Bonham.
Which, really is a drag.
Yeah, he was a drug overdose. Prescription drugs.
Keith Moon?
Yep.
Way back then? What kind of fucking drugs were they prescribed?
Dude, listen to how sad this is.
Okay.
Keith died in London on September 7th, 1978. I was 5 years old. From an accidental overdose of the prescription drug hemynevrin, prescribed to combat alcoholism. How sad is that? They prescribed him a drug to combat his alcoholism, and it fucking killed him. He accidentally overdosed on it. It wasn't even his fault, man. I did not know that. So he was trying to get better, and
I didn't either.
Big Pharma killed him. So I apologize to Keith Moon. He was trying to do the right thing, and Big Pharma killed him. Fuck.
Big Pharma, and it wasn't even a Big Pharma back then.
No, it was just a doctor that went.
It was a baby pharma back then.
I think you should probably take this much, and he probably felt horrible because he was probably a good family doctor back then. And that's really a sad story, to be honest.
Yeah. Terrible. Yeah, so the Creedence thing, that was pretty cool. And, I got the greatest hits. I've only gone through the greatest hits once. I'm going to go through the Chronicles next and see what that's about. And then, of course, after I buy it, I realize, well, fuck, if I would have scrolled down, I could have got the greatest hits version, but everything was remastered. I always do that. I always like pick something like, oh, okay. And then after the fact, I'm like, oh, shit, I could have found the remastered version, you know.
Is this on iTunes?
But it still sounds the same. So. iTunes, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It still sounds the same, though. I don't know how big of a difference remastered is, unless it's something that was used with 4 tracks and then it's remastered, you know. There's certain bands that I've bought over the years that you can tell it was before the remastering era began, right? Because not everybody was remastering all the time. But you can tell when it hits my playlist or whatever that their volume kind of goes down a notch.
Yes.
So you can kind of tell it's not where it should be. Yeah. So, which is weird, but you know, I was going to do this thing where I listen to every single song on my playlist, just hit songs and hit shuffle. I've done it a few times. It takes quite a while because there's like 4,000 songs. You know,
I have 19,000.
I just randomly drive around and it stops. Holy shit! I had more.
A lot of them are repeats.
Before I got my Mac. Really?
Yeah, because like you just said, Spotify offers me the original album and they offer me the remastered album. So for every album that I really love, both of them are in my liked folder, of course. But yeah, it's over 19,000. I like a lot of different music.
I used to take, I do too. That's why we like each other. I used to take my CDs when I had my regular desktop and I'd upload them onto the computer and then download them into my iPod, the thing that I run with iPod. Yes. So like I had think about that. Every single CD I've ever owned, I uploaded on my desktop and I had
That's awesome.
Them. So I had the kind of CD, like there was one, like Alter Bridge. They have all these in their catalog. They have all these unreleased stuff, but they have the CDs when you get their gift sets and stuff. They get their box sets and like the 10-year anniversary of the band. They got this really just fucking great little giant catalog. It's about as big as an album, you know. And it's like that thick, and it has every CD to that point, every album to that point. Then a whole program with all the lyrics. I mean, everything in there. In the back, it's my name's on it. In the back of it, I'm thanked because I was one of the first. You know, only made like 500 of them type thing. Right, and so I had all those uploaded to my desktop. So I had like the Live in Amsterdam. If you're an Alter Bridge fan, it sucks you really can't find anywhere. But the Live in Amsterdam was I think kind of right in their sweet spot where they were getting known, but they weren't exploding yet. But that concert, as far as a live concert recording, is just fucking phenomenal, man.
I got 2 squirrel moments off that.
Right on. Squirrel.
First off,
what were the squirrel moments?
I hope to hear that someday because when somebody's that excited about something musically, I got to hear it. So one way or another, I want to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What triggered my thought was I'm looking for something to watch on YouTube last night after I got home from work because there was nothing on and the basketball tournament was paused till Thursday, and everybody knows me. I'm a college basketball freak, so I'm waiting for the tournament to come back, and I'm like, son of a bitch, there's nothing to watch. So I see the Black Crowes have a live clip there, right? And it's an hour and 21 minutes long, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then I see that it was released.
That's a concert.
It was released yesterday. It was them playing their new album live. And let me tell you, did they suck me into their new album because I heard it live the first time the way it was intended by them, just like you understand. Some bands are intended to be heard live, which we were. Some bands are intended to be heard on record. The Black Crowes have never written a bad song, in my opinion. They still have never written a bad song because this album
they're a good band.
This album is fucking amazing. It's like they put 2 big middle fingers up to the current state of the music business and they tried to write Shake Your Moneymaker again, and they pretty much succeeded. It's like 8 or 9 3-minute and 20-second songs. They're just rock and roll, short, to the point, get it done, over with, kick your ass, move on to the next one.
Yeah, right on.
I loved it.
That's cool.
So
that's quite cool. The
go ahead.
The Live in Amsterdam is on YouTube. The Live in Amsterdam is on YouTube. It's an hour and 39 minutes.
I will watch it.
Just looked it up on YouTube. Yeah. And it's broken up. You can see the little ticker on the bottom. It's broken up into song segments, probably.
You're the one that got me
I probably
to
have the DVD too. Probably in that thing.
An Alter Bridge fan for sure.
Oh, right on.
Because you posted so much about it and how excited you were to see him.
Right.
Like, I got to check this out.
You remember the movie Rockstar, right? With Mark Wahlberg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy was in that movie.
Which one was he?
He was at the very end, the end of the movie, before Mark Wahlberg's character goes off on his own. They're playing their final show for Steel Dragon or Steel Panther, or was it Steel Dragon? I forget.
Steel Dragon.
And the way Wahlberg's character got into the band, he was singing in the crowd, and then he auditioned for him. So Miles Kennedy was in the crowd as a fan, and he was singing along with Mark Wahlberg. So Mark Wahlberg stopped and handed the microphone to him, and he picked it up, and then he's like, "You want to come finish the show?" And he came up on stage, and that's Miles Kennedy, man.
No shit.
Which I didn't know. I didn't know until I was watching something with. Yeah, I didn't know until I was watching something with Alter Bridge, and they were giving him shit about it. I was like, "No shit, that's funny.
That's hilarious." I mean, he was super young back then, so I would have never put two and two together, you know?
Nope, not at all.
That was a semi.
Why we're doing this? Sorry, people are lighting me up with my houses.
It's all good. That was a semi-ridiculous kind of 25% true story of what it's like to be in a rock band. That's what it's like to be in a shitty rock band.
Yeah, but it was very but it was very entertaining. The movie itself.
It was.
You know, it was kind of Nikki doesn't like movies with rock bands, like Almost Famous. It's one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
She does. Yeah, but she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't get into those the movies about the rock and roll lifestyle, because she always the insecurity of the lead singer's wife, and my wife's not insecure at all, but she knew that you get pulled in any and every direction, and that's, again, that kind of goes back to our thing. If I would have went on that tour, if I was still in the band and didn't have my issues, then I think we would have gone up. We would have started climbing that rock and roll ladder, and then it just poses the question of, would I still be married? Because like you alluded to a few episodes ago, you kind of had one of us would have came home in a body bag, because we just, we unintentionally excessed in things we did, which, booze me and drugs you, but everything else that goes along with the rock and roll lifestyle,
Yeah, I think had we gotten to the point where somebody had given us a big chunk of money and we spent a third of it to record the album and we had 2/3 of it left, it probably potentially could have been a super dangerous situation if we had nothing else to do with our time,
And that just comes from age and experience, because if that fell in our laps in the last 10 years, it'd be a whole different story. It's wisdom, and it's that whole thing, man. If I knew now what I knew then, if I just knew now what I knew then, the things that you did different in your lifetime.
There's a big but in there. We were pretty fucking mature for
sure there is.
our time. We practiced hard. I don't think that part would have changed. That might have been the thing that saved us, as we were not perfectionists. We were no train wrecks on stage kind of band. We were the band that wasn't going to let anybody down, whether we were the headliner or whether we were the opener. Right. We knew how to get shit done, you know?
Yep.
We knew how a show worked. And that's important for any musician that's listening. You have to understand how a show works, and you have to understand who you are in the show. Are you the opener, like the opener, like at 7:00 at night? Because, you know, you're playing for the guy who's wiping the bar down and your 3 friends who showed up. We've been there.
Exactly.
Or are you the band that we have video evidence of, thankfully? Are you the band that opens right before the national act goes on stage? You know, we never got to be the national act, but we were the band that opened for many national acts right before they went on stage. That's a serious spot to have, you know? And you have to know.
Oh, that, yeah. Because by the time those bands, because by the time when we got to that part of it, the house was always packed, regardless of where we were playing. It was packed. So you got exposed to all that band's fan base. And then if you were good enough, then they would come back to your show next time you played, which we had a lot of people that would continue coming back. And then we started having our regulars that would come. And back then, having regulars was just, I think, you know, bands that we played with the time we played with the Jim Blossom, the Refreshments, that was a whole different sound. We weren't like that. We didn't cater to that tempi sound at all.
Which is why we
have just as big as a crowd as but we still had the same, if not more, people at our shows because we had substance, you know. We talked about it before. Musically we didn't write shit. We had backbone. Our lyrics had backbone. Our melodies, our songs, every piece of the puzzle was put together so there was backbone in it, and it could stand on its own 2 legs regardless of who we played with, which, you know, when we've talked about who we played with, that's indicative, because not many bands can say they can open for Sacred Reich and Enough's Enough. That's the polar end of the fucking musical spectrum. You got, you know, hardcore speedy death metal versus, you know, candy-ass pop rock 80s hair metal. But we could play with both of them because of how we were as a band and how the music was, because it was just more about the music. I mean, you hear it when we start our show with a piece of Liquid, with a piece of Listen to My Sin. You know, we put on a show, and we had fun doing it. And I think that was evident, and that came across.
What you just said there will explain my playlist to a lot of people that work with me every day. When Slayer, when Slayer transitions into Billy Joel.
Yeah.
You know, they listen to Rain and Blood, and then Uptown Girl comes on. you get a lot of RCA Victor dog looks
like that. Yeah. Yeah. I have playlists like that. It's like, what the fuck, man? You know, I'll go from something like Kenny Rogers has a song that I love from his movie he did called are you fucking kidding me? I totally just blanked now. He's a race car driver, Six Pack.
Yes.
Six Pack. He plays a race car driver. Erin Gray, the chick from Buck Rogers TV show, was his girlfriend in the movie, and then all these kids that fucking. Premise of the show is he's a race car driver. He drives himself around, you know, with his little fifth wheel RV, the race cars on the back, and this family of hoodlums, like legit, they're all fucking kids from like, you know, 7 to 18 years old type thing. And they end up being his crew because they're, you know, they what is it when you strip a car when you're parked and you go inside, you come back out, your car's stripped. You know,
yes.
Tires are gone. There's those kids. Love Will Turn You Around. It's a song called Love Will Turn You Around. So I'll have that in a mix, and then, you know, 2 songs later it's Candlebox You, you know. So I'm the same dynamic because I have a playlist that's just as favorites, and I have a rock faves, and I have different distances of running playlists from 5Ks to half marathons, you know, and everything in between. And then there's Nick. I make a Nikki playlist, so when we're ever going anywhere, I turn her playlist on. You know, I don't have a playlist because it's just all my music, right?
Yes.
And there's that you know, the married couple playlist. You know, when you're doing things that married people do, I have that playlist. But there's a couple different variations of that playlist because it depends on the mood in which you're, you know, and how do I say that politically correct? You know, sometimes you just want to fuck, and sometimes you just want to make sweet love. So I have different playlists that coincide with that. Sorry, Mama K, for dropping the F-bomb.
She hears it. She knows it.
But there's that dynamic.
She's got 3 kids who don't have a filter.
Well, yeah, and then I have yard work playlist. Then I have a yard work playlist. I have Little Man playlist. Little Man's playlist consists of Blippy. And
I have a filter when it comes to Mama K, by the way. I try not to use that. Sorry.
I figured.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Little Man loves Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. That you know, it's so good. He loves Nightmare Before Christmas, Tim Burton's movie. So that's in the playlist. So every now and then he'll want me to play This Is Halloween, but he likes the Marilyn Manson version. Like,
ooh,
nice. He's got 2 versions on the album, on the soundtrack, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So he likes
way to go,
Marilyn
Little
Manson.
Man.
And Skylar's telling us he likes, right? Skylar's telling us he just wants the rock and roll. And he likes Rammstein. I'm like, okay, he's too young to like Rammstein. Yeah. We don't need that angry energy going to school, Scott.
No, it's the groove, man. Not angry. Groove.
Back a bit.
Not angry. It's groove.
I know. But when you're 4 years old,
nobody. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's groove.
You still got to be mindful of that shit.
He's feeling it, man.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He totally feels it.
I don't even know what they're saying. I don't really. It doesn't matter because it's just.
I don't either.
Yeah, just makes you want to move.
Yeah. It's it's that grrr, that grrr roll thing, whatever it is. But yeah,
that's where Pantera always got a bad name.
That's
there was nothing wrong with it. It was groove metal.
Yeah,
they weren't even thrash.
That's what I keep trying to explain to a couple of my. No, they were just metal.
They were groove metal.
They still are, even though
it was weird time signatures.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
It's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
they were the CCR of heavy metal.
Oh, well, there you go.
Their music made you want to move. Listen to Walk.
Yeah.
People who don't even like Pantera Walk. Why? Because it makes you want to move.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And I harp on some of my Orange Theory trainers that when we have heavy running days, like they need to have more driving music, because as a runner you want to catch that beat and go. And when they play the fucking techno bullshit and kind of, weird fucking, it's not even hip hop. I don't know what the fuck it is. Like, it doesn't work. There's this really weird version of Jump, Van Halen's Jump, that somebody mixed, and it works the way they did it. And they make the song longer.
Okay.
But they mixed a beat on. They mixed a beat onto it, so it has more of a driving beat. Every time it comes on in the studio, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's a fucking catchy little way to do Jump.
That's awesome.
Because the song Jump itself is not a motivating running song, but the way they twisted it and mixed it with something, whatever DJ did that, it legit was like, wow, that's the first time I heard it, I was like, no shit. And now my ears will perk up when I hear it. But
you just brought me back to my second squirrel moment.
Running days when we have benchmarks. Right on. Go ahead, squirrel.
Sorry.
Secret squirrel.
I'll remember where you were at. Running days.
No, you're good. No,
you're
good, man.
The cover band thing, not doing covers. We didn't do a lot of covers, but if you go listen to Five Finger Death Punch's version of Bad Company,
fuck yeah, dude.
That's taking ownership of the song and making it yours, because you couldn't do the original justice if you tried. Paul Rodgers was the first guy that I ever saw stand on a stage, and I went, holy fucking shit, that's what a rock star looks like. I was blown away. He just commanded that gigantic stage at Desert Sky Pavilion. Oh, yeah. Made it look effortless. He hit every one of them fucking notes without even trying. Fucking shirt flowing in the breeze, hair flowing in the breeze, just kicking everyone's ass for 2 hours. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. So
that was the same kind of moment I had when go ahead, keep going.
No,
I was just going to say that's the same kind of moment I had when I saw Queensryche Building Empires tour, which was the height of their popularity.
Correct.
And the way Jeff Tate was and the way he controlled the crowd, and how from at that point in time, it was the most flawless performance I had ever seen. And like, there was nothing that was wrong. Like it was the building, it was the Empire album, and I don't think they did Mindcrime. I don't think they did Mindcrime at all. I think they did a couple songs from Mindcrime, but the Empire album in its entirety, and it was just, I mean, we had after show meet and greets, and Eddie Jackson, the bass player, came down, and I just remember telling him, I'm like, dude, you guys, it was flawless. Like, you didn't miss anything. Like,
absolutely.
Nothing.
I got to see the Mindcrime.
Now that could have been right, and okay,
they were perfect
in their heyday.
Yes. They opened up for Metallica on their And Justice for All tour, and Metallica was for anybody that talks shit and thinks they know what they're talking about like even old Metallica saying that they were fucking assholes and blah, blah, blah. Those guys could not have been any cooler to their opening acts right up until they couldn't have an opening act anymore because their fans were so loyal that they would throw shit at the fucking opening act, and that's not right, but that's how loyal Metallica fans were. I got to see the Operation Mindcrime in its entirety. So you're talking about a band that had the balls to step on a stage in front of Metallica's fans and play their basically entire album. And Metallica let them have their video screens and everything. Dude, it was so cool. And I agree with you. They were fucking perfect.
Right on.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I saw the Operation Mindcrime. I saw Operation Mindcrime later when it was one of the anniversary tours. They played at Celebrity Theater in the Round. And I was as close to the stage as I am now with my brother.
That's a great venue.
Fucking got so obliterated. My brother got so obliterated though. At the end, it was just fucking ridiculous because I couldn't control him. I had stopped drinking maybe 1 or 2 years into my sobriety. But I mean, literally, like, you look up and there's Jeff Tate. I mean, at least half the show he was standing right in front of us singing, and it was just, I'm just like, fuck this. I mean, everything. And we were right on that stage, on that pathway from the stage, and that's where they would take him out on the gurney and shit, when he was in the straight coat and stuff, different parts of the show. I mean, that's where we were right there in that corner, man. Like, here's the ramp and here's the stage, and there's Jeff Tate. It was, probably could have had 30 fucking guitar picks and drumsticks and shit, but I was maintaining the chaos to my right, and he'd get a drumstick and fucking scared Jeff Tate away. like he moved at one point in time, like legit, like that's why I said 50% of the time, because then after a while he just stayed on that side of the stage or on this side of me, because my brother was being such a fucking drunk ass that you just, I mean, it's weird enough being on stage as a singer because you feel all the energy from the people, and you can kind of pick up the negative shit and the positive shit, so you kind of know where to kind of go when you're up there. And he just,
correct,
when my brother did that shit, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm staying away from these guys. It's not like I could say, Jeff, oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, I apologize.
You're making me nervous, man. Fucking freaking me out.
Still fucking amazing. Oh, totally, but still amazing. The Scorpions.
You remember
like
those
that when
people?
I saw Worldwide Live. My biggest, yeah, oh yeah, the Worldwide Live one, Scorpions. To me, it was little MTV. It was so huge that the downer of that was they played Worldwide Live the way the album was. Like Klaus would say the shit that he would say on the album live. So it was kind of cool, but they were so all over MTV with the Love At First, or the Love at First Sting album, and I got the Worldwide Live video, and it was kind of a drag because it was just too much like the video. It's like you didn't change it up venue to venue to venue at all.
So,
and I think that's where the redundancy comes into play, and I think that's
in the middle of your story, I had a lot of squirrel moments, and I have to end on the last squirrel moment because I don't remember the two before it.
Okay.
But this is a good one because if anybody likes the Scorpions, I'll tell you what a lot of people would consider a sad story, but he doesn't want you to think of it as a sad story because he made that choice and he could have been whatever the fuck he wanted to be because he is Michael Schenker. And Michael Schenker is beloved by anybody who plays a 6-string instrument, guitar, we're talking, electric exclusively.
Yep.
He is a motherfucking guitar playing machine, and we've all bowed down to the licks that he's taught us about how to incorporate melody into rock and roll and heavy metal. He gave up being what the Scorpions became just to get away from them because of what you just described. He didn't want to go be a puppet every night.
Know that. No shit.
Oh, yeah. He told the story on That Metal Show. Remember when that was on MTV or whatever the fuck it was on, VH1?
Yeah, Eddie Trunk. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. So Kirk Hammett was on That Metal Show.
Eddie Trunk.
Eddie Trunk. Yeah. Yep. And, oh, God, there was a panel of guys. Jim Norton, I think, was on there. So Kirk Hammett is on there one day, and Michael Schenker is Kirk Hammett's hero. Michael Schenker and Jimi Hendrix are basically who Kirk Hammett loves as, idols. And they surprised Kirk by having Michael on there, and they got to jam together. And then Michael told that story. Kirk's like, I always wondered what happened to you and the Scorpions. And he said, basically, he sold his rights to be in the band to the band to get away from them. He was like, I just didn't want anything to do with that anymore because I didn't like the direction they were going. They basically were becoming a parody of what he wanted. He wanted them to be like UFO was. If you listen to Rock Bottom, do yourself a favor and put that in your playlist.
Yeah.
That lick will get stuck in your head like there's no tomorrow. And that is the epitome of Michael Schenker. He knows how to write things that just make you want to hear it again and again and again. And that was all our goals as guitar players was to write memorable things. You mentioned one earlier, You by Candlebox. Think about that initial lick of that song. Sucks you right in. It's like, what's coming next?
Right. Yep.
And then the lyric starts. And you're like, oh,
see,
Jesus.
For me, it's lyrics. Yeah. For me, it's the lyrics and melodies, but that's because I'm a singer. So, I just,
So you're dissecting it. You're dissecting it backwards.
Right. I dissect it differently than you do because, right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine.
It's in my way is forwards, but in your world it's backwards. Right. Because you're pulled in by the music while I'm pulled in by the lyric.
Right. But
but see, that works for us because.
But that melody for that particular song came from that initial 4 notes of that lick is what he's singing under, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, but that's how I think our dynamic worked because you guys, when I came to practice the first time, your music pulled me in because it wasn't this just stupid little shitty music. It had backbone to it. Seeing what Scott was doing and hearing what Scott was doing, what you were doing, it's like, okay, that drew me in because it was the music that drew me. And then once that got a hold of me, then I was able to, start throwing lyrics on top and melodies and shit. And, of course we talked about it too. Once Rick came in, then it fucking changed the dynamic even further because the bass lines he would drop were just, you took a song that like Listen to Your Sin changed when there's bass lines. It was great with guitars and drums, and then the bass line comes in. It's like, oh fuck, there's even more little things I could do as a singer because I could latch on to some of the stuff we did. I would latch on to what Scott was doing. I think Nothing Man was heavily. I followed Scott big time with the drums and how he was doing his beat and shit.
Killed that song.
Oh fuck yeah, he did.
He hated me for that song.
I still remember just the driving beat. The driving beat is what
I pushed him to that.
The intro of that. Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, I remember.
I said,
I'm going to shit live. He had that look on his face, like fuck.
Oh, dude, but it kicked ass, man. That's where people fucking stood up and paid attention that we had a killer fucking drummer. I mean, it was evident in every other song because he would throw fills in so that I would know where I was at. You knew where you were at.
Fuck yeah.
There was little triggers to keep us on track. But that song, I said,
sure.
I remember writing the song, and I said specifically, I'm going to play the least amount possible so that you have to do the most amount possible. That's our goal. If you don't fill in the gaps, it's going to be a shitty song, and you're going to be responsible, not me, because I'm going to go out,
right.
I'm just going to play straight 4/4 time, and you're going to fill in the gaps. It was just him and I at the time. There was no bass player. We wrote that song with the original bass player, and he wasn't there that day.
Right.
So I was just fucking around. I said, I'm going to play the least amount possible, and you need to play the most amount possible. And that's what happened. So then come to find out he had this book.
That was a fucking great song to play live.
And it said 1,001 different hi-hat combinations. So for anybody that's a drummer out there, that's a lot of different combinations on your hi-hat.
No shit.
Nothing Man is one of them.
Right?
Yeah. Scott was an interesting character. He knew a lot more than I gave him credit for, and I learned a lot about him as I knew him over the years. He was way smarter than I gave him credit for.
Yeah.
About different things, not just music.
Most people don't. Yeah. Oh yeah. Most people don't. You don't know who most people are until you've truly known them for years. Like my buddy Trey that we reconnected a couple weeks ago, a week before. We had him over. We had Sunday dinner and played Mexican train dominoes, and he just hung out and bullshitted for 2-3 hours. I had no idea how well read this guy was, and just the different things that he's studied and like he's read the Bible probably 60 times, but you would never think by looking at him that he had any concept of that part of life, and the different just he'd be a great person to have on the show once you get your internet up and going the right way.
Awesome.
He's fascinating. I've known him forever, but I never realized he was out of state for a while, so I never realized how deep he was till we were just sitting at the kitchen table bullshitting playing Mexican train dominoes. And I started asking him about his tattoos. Like, what does that tattoo mean? And he's like, oh, over here. This is like, what the fuck? There's this Viking reference, and then there's Wiccan reference, and there's all these other little things that I can't tell you now because they went so far over my head because I'm like, holy shit, that's a thing. He's like, yeah, that's a thing. So he would be he would be like a bring him on the show every now and then because there's so many things he could talk about that it's like you squirrel. But just the brain, the mind is a beautiful thing. So
yes,
the more you get to know somebody, the more you you can kind of dial into their intellect and understand, like you and I have done over the years. It's like we're not just this person in this box. We're so much more. And I think a lot of the people in the world, they don't see that shit because everybody hides behind technology, and it's just a real quick, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? There's no real. You can know people because of social media, but you don't know those people. You know them,
and
I don't know your mom. I know her on Facebook.
You did show her a couple houses. Technically, you do know my mom.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. It's not. I know her.
I know what you're saying. I'm just being funny.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I know. You're a funny guy. You make me laugh.
on the keeping it on the subject of music and saying that people are smarter than people give them credit for as musicians, so that the general public is.
Yeah.
If they have not seen the Queen movie, I'm not sure they discuss it in there. I think maybe they do, but. Brian May is a astrophysicist.
Yeah, he is fucking insane, right?
and
you're an astrophysicist and you lead the guitar player for one of the greatest rock bands in the history of rock and roll.
Legendary. Yes, absolutely. Fucking legendary. Mm-hmm. You're like, nah, I'm going to see if this works out. And then I got this astrophysicist thing to fall back on. The second, probably.
Right? Just in case.
Yeah. I think I could make a living doing that. The second one would be Jimmy Page. Between 1957 and 1964, Jimmy Page was the most sought after studio musician in all of Europe. He played on over half of the recordings that came out of Europe in those 7 years.
No shit.
Yes.
Wow. I did not know that.
People wanted him because he was like, he could come in, listen to the song, 1-2 takes, he was done. Move on to the next thing. He had perfect pitch. He knew exactly what he was doing. Mm. And from studio work, time is money. So they appreciated the fact he could get the job done. So when you listen to a Led Zeppelin song, the one thing that always fascinates me, and maybe it's because I'm biased, but start paying attention to this simple fact. Their music does not sound dated on any level to me. You listen to an old Beatles song. No, I watched Hard Day's Night last night. It was evident the Beatles were in the 1960s. Right. Great music. Obvious why they're legends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Super songwriters. Dated.
Right.
What is and what should never be comes on. It sounds like what is and what should never be. Jimmy Page was a recording fucking genius. Yeah. And it was all that time spent in those studios that taught him what to do and what not to do. There's YouTube clips of him talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. You can't timestamp them at all. And that's, I think Pink Floyd's kind of the same way. And which is why both of them are still relevant on the Billboard album charts.
Pink Floyd does not sound dated.
And some of Metallica stuff. No, and Metallica doesn't really sound dated. Some of their stuff, not really. If you think about it, they're kind of the same. They fall in that same category because everything from Kill 'Em All the way up, it's still relevant. You can still play it today, which is why they continue to generate new fans, and after generation after generation after generation. So does the Who, so does the Beatles do, just because they're the Beatles. Because everything goes back to the Beatles, right? So you talk to anybody about it, music, and even Ozzy. The reason why Ozzy's Ozzy is because of the Beatles. But some established stuff can seem a little bit dated, but not as much as others. But I can see that. That's a great statement, man. That would be the thing you would think would be the thing that musicians want to be able to stand the test of time and never be put in that box. Because when you release something like, and you're on, Spotify and the iTunes, things like that, how relevant is that music 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, or 50 years from now?
Listen, man. You know how we like to take things into the paranormal, right? So everybody was always saying Jimmy Page was into the black magic, right? Did he just tap into something that nobody else can tap into? And his music is the fountain of youth.
Right.
Like he knew he couldn't become the fountain of youth, so he made his music the fountain of youth. Yeah. I don't know.
That's a good point. That's definitely a good point.
And once again, because I used them as a template to what we wanted to do as far as the way they handled their business and the way that they composed their music in the we don't give a fuck. If it sounds good, it is good mentality. Right. I wonder if it's just a lot of that or, who knows, man? I leave myself open to the possibility that anything is possible. I am not married to any one of my ideas. So if somebody listened to the religious episode and thinks that I am anti-religious, I am not anti-religious. I am anti-organized religion. I leave myself open to the fact that there is a creator out there because music comes from somewhere, and music is beautiful. A lot of things in life are beautiful. I don't know. I just know that if man had his hand in it, it's fucked up somewhere. Somebody fucked it up. So I just figured spirituality was a personal thing. not a bake sale. So my religious rant's over.
Agreed.
Back to music.
No, but I agree with that, and that's the thing though, because I mean everything creative has to come from somewhere. Anybody who's it has spent a significant part of their life using the creative side of their brain. There's something there that just shows up. It's the muse, right? Like it's just like I had the idea for the book I wrote, The Legend of Charles E. Lang, forever. So I mean, I had that idea back when we were in a band, even before we had the band, because I was hanging out with him. So that took until COVID to write it, because then COVID, like, you're just locked down. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking write this thing, you know.
I remember you telling me back then you were going to write a book
that we pulled out of our ass. Yeah, and just anything that is creative comes from somewhere within your being, and I think for that to happen, you have to be open to everything. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
it does. I think it goes one step further than that. I think that we channel that through our being, and we understand that we are the vehicle. We are not the originator.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that.
So I always describe it to people as when they say, where did that come from? You always know my first answer is, I don't know. But if you want a logical answer,
exactly,
it came from the fucking air into my mind, through my soul, and out my fingers, because I am not so cocky or arrogant to believe that I am that good to play anything that we ever wrote. I appreciate the fact that I got to be a part of it, is where my mind's at. I am thankful that I was there to experience all that. That's exactly how I thought of it then, and that's how I think of it now. It's a gift.
Yeah, I think it's a gift. I think absolutely anybody that's creative, it's some type of gift from the gods. And I say gods plural because everybody's version of God is different.
Sure.
You know, but it is something that you can't explain it, because really, I mean, you know, like some of the stuff I've sent you in the last year, like legit, it just popped in my, like that one thing I wrote you. I wrote about. I was pissed off because that situation, like that, I fucking dropped that in like 2 minutes. You get it, you're like, holy shit, that's badass. You know?
Yeah, I told you that needs some aggressive.
That's just
music.
not an ordinary everyday human. Right, exactly. But that's the thing, is, you know, so people like that make their living doing this, they're no different than we are. They had a lucky break at some point in time, and you know, they're just being able to do what they absolutely love.
James Hetfield says it.
Made their place in the world. Yeah.
If you watch that 1.5 years in the life of Metallica,
go ahead.
He says it somewhere in there. He said, we're just 4 of the luckiest motherfuckers that ever walked the face of the earth. This could be you. You know, that's it. That's the end of the statement. He doesn't say, you know, we're the best, you know, you got to practice hard. He just says, we're just 4 of the luckiest guys that ever walked the face of the earth, because it could have easily been somebody else. They just had a vision. The one thing they did differently is they never gave up, man. They just pushed forward no matter how bad things got.
No, right.
They believed in themselves, as did we.
Right.
We just didn't have the longevity, unfortunately.
Absolutely. we had now that goes back to the thing. Had we known now what we knew, if we knew now what we didn't know then it would have just been pause Nemesis for 6 months and then regroup, recalculate, because we could have done so many different things for that 6 months, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, like wrote 100 songs or something.
You know. Oh, speaking of which, boys and girls, make sure you go vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because right fucking now, Kool and the Gang has a chance to get in there, or I'm sorry, Mariah Carey has a chance to get in there, which we don't want. Mariah Carey's not rock and roll. Okay,
no.
This is who's up right now for the 2024 nominees. Eric B and Rakim. I don't know who the fuck they are, Mariah Carey, Cher. So right away, those first three, not rock and roll. Rock and roll, Ozzy Osbourne, yes. Peter Frampton, yes. Jane's Addiction, yes. Dave Matthews
Cher in the
Band,
1960s
yes. Foreigner,
might
yes.
have been rock
Lenny
and roll.
Kravitz, yes. Oasis.
Gypsies, Tramps, and
yes.
Thieves.
Oasis, yes. Yes.
Come on now.
Right. Yeah.
Is that rock and roll?
And then Tribe Called Quest. I don't know.
I like
Sinead
that song.
O'Connor. She's popular.
Sinead
rock,
O'Connor is not rock and roll. Come on,
Sade,
man.
She's pop rock. No, I said pop rock.
Sade is just
rock.
cool, man.
Popular rock.
Okay.
Yeah, she is cool.
She's badass.
So I'm gonna vote here while we're doing this. So we're gonna vote for Ozzy, and we're gonna vote for Peter Frampton.
How is Ozzy not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's just why it's fucking stupid.
He's in there for Sabbath, but yeah, he's in there for Sabbath. So there's my nominees. You can vote everybody. Ozzy Osbourne, Peter Frampton, Jane's Addiction,
I have
Oasis, and Dave Matthews Band.
Fuck,
blows
man.
my mind, man.
That just proves why it's just stupid.
Right, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not the Rap and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not the Jazz Hall of Fame. It's
it's not the Pop Rock Hall of Fame.
It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. It's right. It's just the
go
rock
do
and
your
roll
Pop Rock Hall of Fame somewhere else.
Right, it's kind of right. It's like the NFL, football Hall of Fame. It's not the fucking college football Hall of Fame. It's the NFL Hall of Fame.
Right.
If
you didn't play rock and roll, you don't get to be here. How simple can this be?
Exactly.
What kind of morons do we have running this place?
Error. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong.
What error?
Probably former A&R executives from the 70s that are stuck.
That can't be. Why would they be voting for pop rock? I think we got some weenies running this thing.
Well, it's I don't know who sets the list. I don't know who sets that list of the nominees, right? Somebody in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has to set that up.
Agreed, but they suck.
The ones that are eligible this year, they do suck. Yeah, it's pitiful.
I'm playing the guy who's pissed off here.
Just fucking. No, but I agree with you, dude. Because I am. Had this conversation. He's a local. Yeah, he's same thing. It's just like Kool and the Gang is disco. They had nothing to do with rock and roll,
dude.
So have a disco Hall of Fame, have a rap Hall of Fame.
Dude, I can get behind Kool and the Gang. I can't get behind fucking Sinead O'Connor for rock and roll.
No, I can't.
I know where you're coming from.
But really, Kool and the Gang was disco.
Agreed.
Right.
We're in agreement. I'm just saying, at least they were cool.
See,
they
Prince,
played real music.
Right. Agreed. And they were made famous again by Pulp Fiction, man. Kool and the Gang, man. That was one of the lines.
They were a great band.
Who said it? It's all Kool and the Gang, They were a party band. They were, not a party like let's, party, but this like the energy, the enthusiasm, the fucking the vibe that they brought to their audience and things. They were cool. I don't think they're rock and roll, man. That's all.
Let's do a couple lines of coke and get on the dance floor.
Make a disco Hall of Fame. Make a rap Hall of Fame. Right. Do a jazz Hall of Fame. They have country music Hall of Fame.
Agreed.
And Dolly Parton made a rock and roll album because she's got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So she's like, well, I better make a rock album.
Put her in right now.
She was just like, what the fuck? I'm not a rock star.
Right now.
Right, but that's the thing. She's like, I'm not a rock star.
Who cares?
I have no business being the rock.
Who cares? Everybody loves whatever Dolly wants, Dolly gets. Yes.
Right, but still, you're not going to put Willie Nelson in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just oh yeah, Dolly Parton's fucking salty earth.
Willie gets in too.
One of those rags to riches, and she. That's because Willie's probably smoked pot with half the people in there.
Some people are just cool, man. Just like Johnny Cash gets accepted by the hardest hardcore fucking musicians ever. You don't talk shit about Johnny Cash. I don't care who you're sitting with.
Oh yeah,
it could be somebody who plays black Scandinavian death metal. They'll be like, "Don't talk shit about Johnny Cash, man. The original Man in Black."
Agreed.
Some people are just cool.
Agreed. Absolutely. I agree, man. But country's country, rock is rock.
Were you the one that was telling me that Jerry Lee Lewis was he like a pedophile or something? I just heard this recently.
He was a pedophile. He married a 12-year-old. His wife was 12. One of his wives were 12.
Did we already talk about this, or did you and I talk about this privately?
We never talked. We've talked about it outside of the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, he was a whack-a-mole dude. But see, at the same time, Elvis was diddling Priscilla when she was 13. You know what I mean? Because back then.
But the difference is, didn't Elvis have the blessing of Priscilla's family, or no?
Yes. Well, yeah, because
I don't think Jerry had the blessing,
but it was. No, he didn't have the blessing at all. Absolutely,
Jerry was a rapist.
He was, no. Jerry was a rapist, illegally, not legally, but yeah, yeah.
Then didn't he kill one of these wives?
Back then it was, it wasn't uncommon. Yeah, I think that's what they call him. That's why they called him Jerry the Killer.
Yes, you don't want to follow the killer.
Yeah, he was a fuck, dude. He was definitely a fuck.
I'm just saying those guys were fucking crazy back then. People have no idea. They think, it was like all sweet and innocent. Oh, it's the 60s. I'm going to the sock hop and I'm going to see Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was all pilled up and coked out of his mind and taking fucking barbiturates. And the guy playing before him was fucking a 12-year-old girl and killed one of his wives. And Elvis was all on speed and God knows what else. He was all pilled up too. I'm painting the picture of reality for the people who still have it. This was what it was.
Oh yeah, straight up, dude. Fucking that was the beginning of rock and roll, though, right? That was
absolutely
chaos, and your parents hated it. Like, who's the dude on the TV shaking his hips, man? Who's the fucking guy playing the piano and jumping up and down on it? And, that was
our parents hated it.
Establishment, like, fuck our parents, fuck the right. Oh yeah,
yes.
Oh yeah. You're right. Now I'm dating myself, but yeah, the grandparents of today hated it.
Fucking hated it
because it was, what the fuck is this? This is not Conway Twitty and fucking Tex Ritter and fucking Hank Williams Jr. standing on a stage in one spot.
Not even that, man. They were listening to like
nobody stood up.
So my grandparents would have been listening to like
like the Lawrence Welk show shit, right?
Big band, yeah. So like
would it be like Lawrence Welk, that kind of stuff.
That kind of shit. Yeah, that's what they were listening to. And then here come Elvis. Shaking his hips and gyrating all over the stage. And everybody like my grandfather lost his mind. Like, what the hell's going on here? These girls are fainting in front of this guy, This can't be good. And he was right. It can't be good.
So look at how right. So look at how far we've come from the 1950s to 2024, right? Like, that's 74 years, okay, which is a long time, right?
But it's not shit.
Now you have people like, no, it's not and where I'm going with this is this, because this has just happened to be on my mind, because somebody posted something the other day about Miley Cyrus and why does she even wear clothes anymore, because everybody's seen her naked. But they were such up in arms about Elvis going across the stage doing hip thrust, and now you have Miley Cyrus walking around half naked and nobody gives a shit because been there, done that, seen it before.
I'm thankful we're to that point.
The pendulum swing, and then right, because think about it. The cool thing about being a band and a musician in the 50s and 60s and 70s is there's uncharted territory. You were opening doors, and you could still be original, and you could still create a new sound. And then the 80s happened, and then the whole hair metal thing pops up. Right, you got disco, and you got the hippie love movement in the 60s, and you got the
arena
50s,
rock in the 70s,
rockabilly shit, and then. Right, arena rock and in the 70s, and Peter Framptons and just the guitars
Kiss.
And the theatrics like Kiss, and then you go into the 80s where it's all hair metal and glam and fucking power chords and shit, and then the 90s
Big
come up
everything.
and grunge comes in and kind of reshapes the whole thing. Right. So you have all these different things that have happened in these decades, and you come to 2000 and it's just like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, what the fuck? 2010s and the 2020s, it's like, what? There's nothing fresh anymore. There's, like Nikki and I went to this thing, Harkins Theater, a local theater in Arizona. They have once a month, they have these, it's called Harkins. Oh, is there Harkins there?
No.
In Illinois?
No, there's good. I was just gonna say there's good music out there. It's just harder and harder to find. Continue your thought.
Oh, there is good music, right? Well, what I'm saying is like the Harkins Theater does this thing once a month, which I didn't know it. It has it's a surprise movie. You have no idea what you're gonna see. It just tells you the genre, but that's it, nothing else. So we went last night, and it was a horror flick. And we didn't know what it was like, and it was a weird thing going into a movie theater not knowing what you're seeing. There's no previews, there's no preconceived notion of what you're going to watch at all. So you have no outline of what you're going to see. You have no idea what the story's going to be like. And it was a story about a meteor that kind of missed Earth, but a piece broke off and it landed in a New York high-rise community and blew through the window, and poof, the meteor dropped in a dollhouse, and inside the meteor came out this spider, and the spider, it turns up being like this massive, 40-pound spider that's as big as the ceiling in my room that eats people, and shit. But you didn't know, and that was like, it was an original idea. Like, that was really cool. But with music, there's just it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to find new music that's different because, and we
why?
We did it. All musicians steal from. Why?
I know where you're going with this. Why? And yeah, I think even Jimmy said it in one of the YouTube clips that I listened to, that whole stealing shit. It's like, you've said it before on the podcast. We've all stolen from each other. It's how you apply it to your own original idea. The reason that it's gotten harder to find original music is because the whole business got turned on its head in 1999, 2000, 2001, when Napster came along and everybody was anti-fucking Metallica because Lars went on a rampage, not for Lars and not for James and not for a lot of bands that had already made their fortune. He did it because he saw exactly where we're at now. There's no structured format.
Think about
like
that, kids.
When you and I were growing up, where did we get our new music? They played it on the rock station. And if you liked pop, there was a pop station. And if there was if you liked country, there was a country station. And that's where you found out about all the new albums and the concerts that were coming up. It was all pipelined into one place for everybody to get it, right? Now you got to go search for it. There's a band that I've been listening to. If you like just straight ahead rock with a little bit of blues twist, they're called the Cold Stairs. Apparently they're two backup musicians for, I don't know, I never looked into it. They play for big country acts. But these two guys just decided to write some songs on their own. I heard one song and I downloaded everything they ever recorded. Yeah. They got that feel that we're looking for, They're a new band that I like.
Yeah. The singles. I don't like just buying singles, man. I want to buy albums. They have lots of singles.
See, I feel super guilty because I'm a Spotify guy, so I just get it and put it in my folder.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm old school. I like to pay for it. Even though they don't get shit out of it. Like, I don't know if you told me this or somebody told me that Snoop Dogg had 1 billion downloads, and what did he get out of it? Like $40,000.
46,000. 42,000. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we said it on the podcast.
1 billion downloads. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I found Cold Stairs, plural, right?
Yes,
Stairs.
Correct. So here's the difference.
Right? Stares? Okay, because they do have an album. Okay.
Here's the difference. What you're about to do
Hold on. Okay.
Pays the bands just like it did back in the day. So you are the hero of the music business as far as bands go, because that pays them just like traditional album sales did. It's streaming that they get fucked on.
You're welcome.
Yes.
So you're fucking the bands, Mike, and I'm helping them.
Yes. And that's not cool. Joe Rogan subscribes to your theory in that if he likes something, he goes and purchases it immediately. But Joe Rogan has $350 million from Spotify. So
yeah. So I just purchased Head Bent. The Cold Stairs. It's called Head Bent.
I think you're gonna dig them, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at their songs. Like every single song, with the exception of something called "Stuck in a Whatever." All the other ones have at least 50% ratings, if not higher. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on this 11-track album that have at least 50% or higher review or likes. You know what I mean? You know how it has a little gauge popularity. Yeah. So 6 out of 11, that's pretty damn good. That's more than 50% of the songs on this album people dig, which is cool. I'll tell you what I've done lately because I have it on my phone, so you can see where my mind's at.
I think it says something if I hear one song and I download the entire catalog.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. So some of the last ones that I've purchased, Rival Sons. Have you heard of Rival Sons? They're kind of
dig them. Absolutely.
I kind of equate them to kind of like a Black Crowes, but a little heavier vibe with a little, and I kind of call it dirty rock and roll because they kind of seem like they're fucking
loose,
living in a van down by the river. Not,
yeah,
there you go, loose. Yeah, so them I got.
Dig it.
I just got. I did another Zeppelin one the other night because I was like, why the fuck not? I did the Chronicles for Creedence as well as the Greatest Hits.
Awesome.
That was 2 days ago. I believe Huey Lewis in the News.
I dig Huey
because why not? It's Huey.
I fucking dig Huey.
Yeah, right. Fucking good songwriter, man.
Absolutely.
And Kaleo, yeah, Klaeo. They're a good band. They're kind of a little bit of grungy. Kind of loose, dirty rock. I found them on the TV show Suits, because whenever I watch something, if I like the soundtrack, then I'll Google that show and figure out what's going on.
That's why it sounds familiar. I did the same thing.
Cool, dude. They're a really cool band.
Yes, agreed.
Really cool band, man.
They're
really
in my
cool.
playlist.
I like them a lot. Yeah, and then I've been obviously I just did what's right now. I just downloaded that one that you.
Fun fact about Huey, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Huey quit Brown
He's
University.
got the biggest penis in rock and roll.
No, Huey quit Brown University to become Huey Lewis and the News.
That's awesome.
He was going to be an engineer.
No shit.
Yeah.
Right on. I downloaded. This is a cool download too. It was Stone Temple Pilots Core, the deluxe edition.
Yes.
So you have the cool thing about it is you have the 12 songs that were on that album originally, and then you have 13 more songs, which actually there's so many songs on this thing. There's like 50 songs. There's lots of live stuff. There's demos of stuff. It's a good fucking one to get, Core, the deluxe edition.
Let me tell you something.
It covers all of it. I did the okay.
Stone Temple Pilots was arguably the best live band I ever fucking saw. They blew me completely away. You want to talk about professionalism, and we are here to kick your ass, and you're going to pay attention until we're fucking done?
Yeah.
That was Stone Temple Pilots.
Really?
They were amazing, dude.
Right on.
And it stands to reason because the bass player and the guitar player were brothers. They grew up together, right? They were that tight, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I did Temple of the Dog just because I hadn't listened to that in so long. I grabbed that again because that's a great fucking album.
One of the best albums ever recorded.
Alice in Chains EP, Jar of Thighs. Yeah.
Another one of the best albums ever recorded.
Jar of Flies. Yeah. Yeah, true story. I think I Stay Away was playing. I was at MCC. I was running lights for a play, and that's where I wrote the lyrics to one of our songs with that. I had that on the theater sound system playing in the background while I was testing all the lights and shit. And I penned one of our songs. I don't remember which one it was now, but that was the muse for that song. One of them. I don't remember if it was Empty Man or not Empty Man, Nothing Man or Free Man or one of those that was there. That was the muse for that one.
Right after grunge was getting ready to take over,
Tanya Tucker, yeah.
Guitar World asked Eddie Van Halen if there was any of the new bands that he was interested in, and he said no, other than my buddy took me down to L.A. to see this band called Alice in Chains, and there's this young new guitar player. This was in 1989. He said there's this young new guitar player. His name's Jerry Cantrell, and he's going to change the fucking world. That's how much Eddie Van Halen respected.
He did too, right?
A young Jerry Cantrell couldn't have been more than 19 years old when Eddie saw him. And Eddie Van Halen was Eddie Van Halen by this point, ladies and gentlemen. And he said, this guy blew me away, and he's going to change the fucking world. That's how important Jerry was in Eddie's mind at that young age.
Yeah.
His guitar sound is out of this world, man. You know right away that's Jerry Cantrell all the time. Doesn't matter if it's his solo stuff, Alice in Chains, acoustic, electric.
Yep. And you also know how he writes because his melodies and harmonies and shit are so fucking unique to who he is and what he does.
Beautiful.
So that's my musical journeys for the week. I also did some stuff that I
did I hear Tanya Tucker in there?
I didn't have. It's one of those things where I remember some. Oh shit. Yeah, I got Tanya Tucker's greatest hits. I watched something on her.
I like her.
One of those other rockumentaries I grabbed on one of the. She's fucking. She was.
That's an Easter egg in my playlist.
She was fucking 13 years old when she met Glenn. Easter egg, and she was fucking being diddled by Glenn Campbell when she was underage. Her and Glenn Campbell had a 30-year age difference relationship, man.
That's right.
You know, boys and girls, Rhinestone Cowboy was, tasting forbidden fruit.
There's another good old days story. Hey, back in the good old days, Glenn Campbell was diddling Tanya Tucker at 13 years old. He was like 40.
Yep. Just it's mind-boggling, man. But that was, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about last week when we were talking about the teachers and the kids and shit. And then I sent you that thing this week. Like, ironically enough,
look how relevant we were.
In the West Valley in Arizona got fucking busted for fucking a male student. She's female teacher, male student. Oh, world's gonna end.
Give that kid an award.
The differences of society on a whole from the 50s to now is just, because why was that not illegal, punishable by law? Go, stick you in, federal pain in the ass prison, because really, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis, Glenn Campbell, all of them.
It was, but nobody talked about it.
They're all going to get arrested. Right. That's what I'm saying. Why not? Why was that such a,
guys beat their wives.
That dude's fucking.
There's way less spousal abuse now.
Unbelievable. There's the dude.
Way less.
I don't know if there's way less or if they just don't talk about it.
I think
don't talk about it.
I'm not saying that.
I think it goes on.
I'm not saying it's eradicated, but the level that it was accepted back then was unprecedented because women had no rights. They couldn't have a bank account. They couldn't own property. You either had a husband or you were a fucking spinster. You couldn't even have a bank account till 1970.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, yeah, I agree with that.
Believe me, dude, I got educated for about an hour and a half.
To beat the shit out of her.
Listen, I got fucking educated for about an hour and a half when I made the mistake of saying in front of a certain person one time, oh, well, they always talk about the good old days. And this person for an hour and a half educated me as to what the good old days meant if you were a woman, and it sucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, if you weren't married by a certain age, you were fucked. You had no rights.
Yep. Nope.
So I agree with you.
Isn't it crazy?
It still goes on, but I think women are way more apt to report it nowadays because they have more options. They had no options back then. There wasn't a women's abuse shelter.
True.
You know?
No.
Go back to your husband. He owned you.
The bad part now is men. Right, but see, the flip side of the coin now is men are being domestically violated.
You're not going to go there.
That's that little dark secret where if you're no, well, no, I was just saying, if you're going to talk about one side of the coin, you got to flip it over.
I agree with you.
You know, I mean,
I'm devil's advocate here, buddy.
You know, right, and most men won't fucking come out and say my wife beats me because they'll just they're just a little bitch then, right? But shit still happens. I think more now. There's more. I don't think it's so much physical domestic violence anymore. I think it's more psychological and mental.
Correct.
Than it ever has been. Yeah,
yes.
Than it ever has been, and that goes back to the whole social media thing, and people have this Disneyland life, then all of a sudden, 2 years later, the entire 2 years of their life was absolute chaos, but they could never say anything because they didn't want the world to know. And all of a sudden he's the worst fucking person in the world and she's the worst fucking person in the world. And there's chaos and clashing and, just fucking all kinds of drama or if you looked at it from the outside looking in, you would see none of that.
Or you're the woman in your scenario and you're the vice president of John Deere and your husband is an accountant, right? So you make about 10 million a year and he makes 180 grand.
Mm-hmm.
That's your scenario.
I have no problem with Nikki being my sugar mama.
I'm with you, man, but you and I are enigmas. I'm learning this in life that I'm an enigma. Things that I don't have a problem with, like fucking use me. If you got $10 million and we can be copacetic and you're not beating me, tell me what a piece of shit I am for earning my 180 grand or whatever. I can take it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I'm not easily offended, but you and I have lived a different life. A lot of things should have killed us. So when you have gone through those periods, and then I'm also fortunate that, I've told people, I experimented with hallucinogens and they taught me a lot about life. So I have that. I've seen the other side, if you haven't, that's unfortunate. You should, but that helped me a lot. It helped me put things into perspective that, what you and I are doing right here now, trying to spread positivity and a good laugh or love or whatever we're trying to talk about that day, at least make people forget about their problems for an hour and a half or whatever.
Yeah. And we've actually, that's a good way to wrap it up there, Mr. Mike Michaels, because we're at 1 hour and 28 minutes. We've had no glitches. And we always wrap things up on a positive, which is no glitches, so maybe restarting my Mac before the show is the winner, because it may have done that in the first half dozen episodes without realizing it because of all the software updates and shit.
Who knows?
But we definitely realize this works now, so that's kind of cool.
We're going to go with a win. I wasn't real excited about starting over and downloading all this shit and cataloging it. And, Jesus. I would have done it if I had to.
Yeah, no, I think.
But.
Right. So I think that's the key now. We'll try it again next week. And if it works again next week, then we know Big Brother. Is Matt your big brother, right?
No, I'm the oldest.
Right? He's your little brother? Okay.
Yeah. He's the littlest.
Little brother Matt, Yeah, little brother.
Even
Matt
though he's twice my size.
The dogs are growling at something. Yeah, I was gonna say he seems to be bigger than you, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, Matt. Just so you know, I just meant taller.
We had different.
Oh, genetics. That's why Dozier's barking. The what can Brown do for you? UPS trucks out front, but we don't care. He'll just drop it off at the door. So, boys and girls, this has been episode 22. I'm Chris Dunham. He's Mike Michaels. Or, a.k.a. which you can't see. I'm the Donkey King, and he's the Lord of the Fretboard. Now, the Donkey King is a reference to when we were actually playing together in the band. I had a roommate named Ryan. We were thespians together, which means we were actors.
Yes.
And he knew my love for Jim Morrison, and he was the Lizard King, so he decided one day to call me the Donkey. He called me Donkey Dick, which, okay. But then it rolled over to Donkey King. So I was like, right on, man.
I remember people calling people Donkey Dicks.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why he called me a Donkey Dick, but
because that's what we do.
It's Ryan was a good guy. Ryan was a good dude, man. He was a good roommate. Ryan Wright, Wright, Wright Electric. His parents owned an electric company, and I think he took it over. Which he was cool. His girlfriend, he was his wife for a while. It's like she was just an outstanding local actor. And she had told me one time in passing after a play I was in with the whole corps that I had a really good stage presence. And at the time I had no idea what that meant. And so fast forward, he and Ryan, or her and Ryan get divorced, so Ryan needs a roommate. So I'm like, yeah, I'll come move in with you. And then we had talked about that one day, and he's like, dude, you got to understand, that's a good compliment. I'm like, I fucking no idea what that means, man. Well, now I know what it means, obviously, but it was kind of cool that at a point in your life when you're so naive, you don't understand the power of a compliment, and it just rolls off your shoulder. But then later in life, you realize, oh, that was a fucking serious thing to tell somebody. Because actors, you want to have a strong presence because that means you're owning your space on stage.
Of course.
And there's nothing more than being naked than being an actor on a stage. Like being a singer on a stage is different because I have a band around me. But when you're an actor and you're on a stage, there's no other way to say that, but you're just standing there butt ass naked in front of a crowd because what you're saying, everybody's watching you. With a band, they're watching the band.
I told you,
an actor, it's like you got to own that. Yeah.
That night that I can picture it like it's like we were still there. That night that Toby from the Diesel Dog stopped me and told me that solo in Window of Hell sounded like bones.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good song. That's a fucking really good song. We have to get Rick involved. I need to fucking poke at him. We should both poke at William Richard Carr and start doing some shit with our old stuff and get it down.
Yes.
And
figure out how to do it.
I think that would be epic. Let's put an EP together to show the podcasters we can back of what we talk about as far as music's concerned, and
yes,
what we created decades ago is still relevant today.
Agreed.
There you go. We're gonna do it. Nemesis 2.0, baby.
2.0.
All right, boys and girls. I'm Chris Dunham. He's Mike Michaels. You're not alone in this world. There's always somebody that's here that loves you. Tomorrow is always a better day. So if you're having a shit day, just brush yourself off and realize tomorrow is a better day.
Don't let the bad days win.
And don't let the bad days win. Absolutely not. Because you know what? Everybody has a bad day.
Yes.
Eat some food, read a book, get off social media. Don't be on your little social media shit an hour before bedtime. That'll help you feel better because it'll get your brain detached from the chaos. Like I plug my phone at 8:00. That's it. Unless I'm negotiating deals, nothing can happen after 8:00 at night that I can't do the next day.
Agreed.
It's upside down on the coffee table, and I'll check it before I go to bed, and then it's plugged in, and that's all it is. So
that's my time.
It's been a pleasure, dude. I'm glad we made it. I'm glad we made a nice 93-minute episode without any glitches, man. That's pretty cool. That's how we roll. And we covered a lot of stuff today, which is cool. And it's a fun conversation. I like just bullshitting, so I hope the people listening to it like us bullshitting too, because it's bullshitting with passion, man.
Those are my favorite. I enjoyed it.
Bullshit.
Until next week,
yes.
Thank you, everybody who's tuning in every week. Yeah, we appreciate and love you all.
Absolutely. And don't forget, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're on all three.
Amen,
Chris
brother.
and Mike Show.
Peace.
Right? Amen. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. We should have outro.